Hello, wrestling fans, and here I am with a review of Impact Wrestling's Hard to Kill 2023 pay per view, which aired earlier tonight from Old Center Stage Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, which used to be where WCW used to tape their Saturday night program for a number of years. The Hard to Kill countdown to Hard to Kill, which was 30 minutes before the pay per view actually went on the air, started out with a six-way matchup as we saw Speedball Mike Bailey versus Delirious versus Mike Jackson versus Kushida versus Uemura. I apologize if I got his name wrong. Versus Angels. I believe Delirious replaced somebody that was scheduled to be in the match because Delirious wasn't even scheduled for the very show. But on this six-way pre-show match, first Bailey hits a moonsault out to the floor. Mike Jackson, who they said is 73 years old, he hit a dive out to the floor, surprisingly. Angels had a number of Kobashi suplexes on two or three different competitors in the match. Jackson got a hold of Angels, and he did a round the ring tightrope as he held onto his arm and walked along the top rope, then dived on to the rest of the competitors. Delirious. Let me see. Wait. Oh, Delirious was a victim of I call them the speedball kicks that Mike Bailey hits, like a series of kicks as he jumps up and down. Obviously, he's got some strong legs to do that. Then he hit a spin kick in the corner on Uemura. He was up on the second rope, but then Kenny King, who's scheduled to face Bailey in some kind of match on the weekly Impact show on Thursday nights, interferes, pushes Bailey off the second rope, out to the floor. Eventually, Kushida wins as he takes down, I forgot who it was, right off the top rope into an armbar, and I forgot if it was Angels or Uemura who ended up tapping out and giving Kushida the victory. Now, the other match scheduled for the pre-show was supposed to be a 6 knockouts tag team match, pitting Tasha Steelz, Savannah Evans, and Giselle Shaw. They were supposed to wrestle the Death Dolls. I forgot all their names. I think one of them is Taya Valkyrie, Jessica Havoc, and I forgot the other lady's name. Oh, Rosemary, I believe. But for some reason, this match did not take place. I don't know if the match was scratched altogether or the ladies didn't show up. So instead, a match scheduled for the main pay-per-view gets put on the pre-show as Decay's Crazy Steve introduces Black Taurus to challenge Trey Miguel for the X Division Championship. Trey hit a hurricanrana on the floor, which resulted in Taurus hitting the ring post. Back in the ring, Trey hit a Mafia kick. Taurus hit a Samoan drop. Later on, he hit a stiff clothesline, a headbutter. I mark for headbutts. And a pounce, which was reminiscent of Alpha Male Monty Brown. Trey came back and eventually hit the Meteor from the top rope, which Taurus kicked out of. Taurus had an impressive top ropes press slam where Taurus was standing on the top rope and he press slammed Trey Miguel. Trey kicked out of that. Trey hit the crossroads, tried to get a pin with a feet on the ropes, but the referee caught him. Eventually, I forgot what kind of distraction technique he used. Trey got some kind of spray paint. He sprayed it into Taurus's eyes and hit the lightning spiral and picked up the win to retain the X Division Championship. The crowd was like it was hot and heavy for this matchup, and honestly, I just feel bad for these guys because they were victims of circumstances here. Because let's face it, since Impact began 20 plus years ago, just over 20 years ago, the X Division has been the one constant that everybody keeps watching. The one thing about them that everybody watches on Impact Wrestling is the X Division. And I'm sorry to say, these guys, this is like an insult and a step down to both of these men. You know, they should have just kept that on the main show and probably try to scatter for like another pre-show match if they could, but maybe they couldn't. Then, to my surprise, actually, the show begins with a 10-bell salute to recently departed Don West, who was a commentator in the early days of the company. They had a 10-bell salute for him. Then we start out with the world title on the line, a Full Metal Mayhem match as Bully Ray attacked champion Josh Alexander as he's heading to the ring, busting him open with a chain. He powerbombed Josh through a table, but Josh kicked out. Eventually, a cheese grater was put into play. Josh used it on Ray, cutting him open. Josh started using a trash can lid. He brought a bag of thumbtacks into the ring and poured them on the mat. Josh used a chair on the ramp. Josh was pushed off a ladder onto the tacks. The ladder was set up on the ramp, and Ray pushes the ladder, and Josh fell off the ladder and landed on the tacks in the middle of the ring. Josh eventually hits a German suplex and a Regal roll. I forgot who these two guys were. They were like Bully's lackeys, Ray's lackeys, and all apologies for not remembering their names, but they assisted Josh in giving him a 3D, assisted Ray giving Josh a 3D. Josh kicked out of that. Tommy Dreamer eventually comes out and he attacks Ray's guys. And then Dreamer takes a trash can and he's looking at Josh Alexander, who's tied up in the rope, but then Dreamer hits Ray with it, but Ray eventually spears Dreamer through a table that was set up in one of the corners. Eventually, Josh's wife, Jade Chung, comes out from the crowd and she's begging Ray to stop, and eventually she gives Ray a low blow. Then she grabs hold and gives Ray acid drop, which was Spike Dudley's finisher, or when Spike made it to the WWE, they called it the Dudley Dog. She unties Josh from the ropes. Josh hits a splash off the ladder putting Ray through a table. Ray surprisingly kicked out, but then Josh puts Ray in an ankle lock and Ray tapped out, enabling Josh Alexander to retain the world title of Impact Wrestling by submission. Next up was a great four-way elimination matchup for the Tag Team Championship as Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, the major players, versus the combination of Rhino and Heath, versus Ace Austin and Chris Bay, the Bullet Club, versus Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns. There was like all four teams brawl before the bell even rang. Major players were working over Heath. Eventually, Rhino gets tagged in, but in the chaos, Cardona schoolboys Rhino, eliminating Rhino and Heath from the match. Major players then work over Chris Bay. Alex Shelley puts the figure four on Ace Austin. The Bullet Club eliminates the major players after a great sequence of moves. The Magic Guns, I'm sorry. The Motor City Machine Guns, they hit the Magic Killer on Chris Bay. Eventually, the major players, I don't know if they came back out or they were still at ringside and they were knocked off the apron. The Guns hit a move called the Dirt Bomb on Chris Bay to win the match and retain the Tag Team Championship. But then out comes Frankie Kazarian, who hugs them both, Sabin and Shelley, and then comes to the ring and talks about when he came back to Impact for a short time, but said when he went elsewhere, he said he was surrounded by strangers. And clear as day, somebody in the crowd yelled, "Fuck Tony Khan." Well, to whoever said that, if you want to do the guy, not everybody wants to know about it. And eventually, Kazarian announced that he had signed a contract and he's back in Impact Wrestling, I guess full time or for a period of time. Okay. Next up was a match for the Digital Media Championship as Moose challenged Joe Hendry. Hendry was in control in the early going. Moose got the advantage, hit a sliding drop kick with Hendry in the trio. Whoa! Hendry had Moose up on his shoulders, and he tossed him over his head, over the ropes to the floor. Hendry hit an ace crusher. Moose hit a sky high off the second rope. Moose hit a superplex. Hendry had used a pop-up powerbomb. Moose hit 2 Uranagis. Moose eventually hit a low kick and a spear to seemingly win the championship, but out comes the brand new Director of Authority, former WWE Intercontinental Champion Santino Marella. And he announced he wanted the match restarted, and Hendry hit a move he calls a standing ovation on Moose, and as a result, Joe Hendry is still the digital media champion. Next up was a 4-way knockouts matchup to determine a number one contender to the Knockouts Championship, as we saw the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, versus Masha Slamovich versus Taylor Wilde versus Killer Kelly. In the early going, Kelly had a Fisher Woman suplex on Deonna. There were multiple dives in this match by the ladies. Masha Damn, can't read my damn handwriting. And Masha hit some kind of kicks. Masha hit German suplex to Kelly. Oh, okay. Masha hit was a round kicks to the head. Then she German suplexed Killer Kelly. Deonna powerbombs Taylor Wilde. Masha hit a snowplow on Wilde while Killer Kelly had the killer clutch on Deonna Purrazzo, and Masha picked up the win to become number one contender to the Knockouts Championship. Next up, we see, I forgot the woman who interviews the wrestlers at Impact. She's interviewing Rich Swann about the Falls Count Anywhere in Atlanta match with Steve Maclin. Maclin attacks Swann from behind, and you see they're trying to break it up back there, but the referee yells, "Ring the bell!" And we hear the bell, and they start the match in the back, and they actually went out on the streets of Atlanta. Let me see. They're outside on the street. Swann hit an ace crusher on the street. While still outside, Maclin speared Swann onto the rails. They finally make it to the ringside area to eventually get in the ring. Maclin hit a choke breaker on the floor. Maclin speared Swann while he was in the Tree of Woe. Swann, with kicks, he knocked Maclin off the ramp, and a piece of the ramp broke off. Then Swann did a splash off the ramp onto Maclin. Maclin hit a running Liger bomb on the floor, and then Maclin hit the KIA, whatever that stands for, which is some form of a DDT, on Swann on the floor to pick up the victory. And by the way, Raven, he joined the commentary team for this matchup. Next up, we had a match pitting Eddie Edwards versus Jonathan Gresham. There was great mat work by both men. Edwards eventually hit a neck breaker. There was a slap fest between both guys. Edwards hit the Blue Thunder Bomb. Gresham hit like a dive to the floor. Gresham avoided a superplex with a sleeper hold while Edwards was standing on the second rope, but Edwards escaped that. Edwards hit a power bomb. He eventually hit a second power bomb, and eventually hits the Boston Knee Party, which is a running knee strike to the head, enabling Eddie Edwards to pick up the win. But after the match, the lights go out, and in the ring, the lights come back on. In the ring, we see PCO, who had not been seen in months, and he attacks Edwards after his victory. Then it was time for the main event, which was the Knockouts Championship, where Mickie James's career was on the line. She took on Jordynne Grace. There was Native Americans doing, I don't know if it was supposed to be a a chant or a dance or a song, and they're banging on a drum. Didn't know Mickie James has Native American heritage in her, and she was like in the middle of the 4 Native Americans that were like surrounding her. Jordynne Grace had an early advantage in the matchup. Mickie hit a bulldog off the ropes. Jordynne Grace with a stalling superplex off the second rope, and then she held on to Mickie, gave her a jackhammer, but she kicked out of that. Mickie hit a Hurricane Rana out of the corner as well as a flapjack. Jordynne Grace hit a spine buster. She also hit Mickie with a package powerbomb. Mickie hits the mitt kick and I think another mitt kick. Mickie even hit the DDT or the Mick DT. I believe Grace kicked out of that. Grace had some kind of sleeper with body scissors, and it looked at me like, I don't know, Mickie James had tapped out or what the problem was, but she eventually referee might have missed that or but she maneuvered out of it. Eventually, Mickie James hits a tornado DDT and pins Jordynne Grace to save her career and become the new Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion. After the match, her mom, her parents, and her son come in the ring to celebrate the victory. And I think there were a few other family members that came in the ring as well, enabling Mickie to celebrate Mickie James's title win and the fact that her career is going to continue. I really enjoyed this show, and I feel it didn't top last year's Hard to Kill. But for the second year in a row, Hard to Kill, Mickie James main evented the show and was victorious. So are we going to, if Hard to Kill 2024 rolls around, if Mickie James is in the main event again and wins, is Hard to Kill going to be renamed Mickie James Wins the Main Event? They did announce their upcoming schedule. Impact monthly specials on Friday, February 24th, No Surrender. Friday, March 24th, Sacrifice. And their next pay-per-view will be Rebellion on Sunday, April 16th. Again, I'd like to know why that 6 Knockouts tag team match got canceled for some reason, unless they do it on their weekly TV show eventually. But, a lot of good stuff happened here. Obviously, PCO and Eddie Edwards, that's yet to be resolved. Be interesting to see what they do with the Knockouts Championship now that Jordynne Grace has been dethroned. I don't know who Josh Alexander, who could dethrone him for the title. He's been the champion since Rebellion last April. I thought the major players, they were actually going to win the 4-way elimination match for the tag team championship. But very good show by Impact Wrestling, their first pay-per-view of 2023 and the first wrestling pay-per-view this year. Did very good, and wait to see if Rebellion in April could top this. I don't know if they will. And, I know not many people buzz about Impact anymore, but it's still a good product. Hope you enjoyed this review.